What's up guys, Nito here, and welcome back. So I want to show you the build that I've been playing in 0.2 of PoE2. This is a Witchhunter using poison gas grenades to break armor with the corrosion support, and then high velocity rounds, which does a bunch of extra damage to armor broken enemies. So you can see that the normal attack does 445%, and then versus armor broken, it's 1326%, which is huge, so you can do really big poisons, or bleeds. So we're actually doing kind of both. So we have Lacerate, Close Combat, Heft, and Deliberation, and you can see that my chance to poison is 102%, so I have a global 102% chance to poison. And then Gas Grenade has corrosion on it, which breaks armor based on the poison damage it deals. So yeah, and it'll just kind of continually break armor as we consume it with high velocity rounds. So that's really good. But then the thing that makes this build crazy is we get Zealous Inquisition, which causes enemies you kill to explode, dealing 100% of their maximum life as physical damage. And because we have 100% global poison chance, all of those explosions can also poison enemies. And then we use Herald of Plague to spread those poisons around so that they just spread and clear packs really, really quickly, because as the poison spreads, it's going to trigger new explosions, and those are going to spread more poisons, and it just like chains throughout the whole area as long as there's more stuff to kill. So it's really, really strong. I'll go over the tree in a sec, but let me just show you kind of what it looks like in a map. Let's see, where will we be here? Had a map open. It was this one, yeah. So I'm just going to jump into this tier 15 map and just see how it goes. Savannah is a super dense map usually, so this build is particularly good at dealing with dense maps.
Choke on this!
So you shoot out the gas grenades. You can see that their armor is breaking pretty quickly. And then, like, those are the explosions. They do a lot of damage just on their own, but, like, if anything survives, it's just going to get poisoned. And the poison is just going to spread everywhere, basically. So it's a very fun build, very fun playstyle. It's been super smooth to level with. I played it throughout the entire campaign. Crossbow's got a really nice buff this patch. They do, honestly, maybe too much damage. Like, compared to other things, they do just, like, a ton of damage. Just because they're, like, they count as... Apparently before they didn't have the two-handed modifiers that, like, two-handed maces get, and now they do. So they got, like, higher base damage now. It's basically, like, 50% more damage than from last patch. But yeah, you can just see everything dies pretty quick, including rares, and bosses are pretty easy as well.
Need more time.
Defensively, I'm playing a Witchhunter with Sorcery Ward, so you can see up here, I have like 3.5k Sorcery Ward, which is basically just like extra HP against elemental damage, and it resets every so often if you haven't been hit in a while. Which, it's a really nice defense for elemental damage, but it doesn't really do anything against physical damage, and as I have learned, physical damage seems to be very prevalent in this game. Like, I think they tuned it basically so that physical damage is a lot more of a threat than elemental damage is, just because I think they don't want you to be as reliant on LE resist as in PoE1. Because, like, in PoE1, if you don't have your LE res capped, like, you're just gonna die straight up. Like, in PoE2, though, it seems like I wasn't even LE res capped all the way until tier 15s. Like, I was clearing fine and not dying. I've died maybe, like, I don't know, 15 times or so total on this character, getting up to level 86. You know, some of those were, like, early on during the campaign and stuff. But yeah, I feel like the character is fairly tanky, but there's still definitely some, like, big physical hits that are just going to kill you. especially because Source Reward has a 35%. It's based off of how much armor and evasion you have, but it also gives you 35% less armor and evasion. So it does have like a bit of a downside for physical damage specifically, but it's a huge upside for non-physical damage. Or well, it doesn't do anything for chaos damage. Huge upside for element. But overall, yeah, I think Witchhunter is very strong, and especially any kind of poison Witchhunter, just because of the interaction between the Zealous Inquisition and Herald of Plague. It just clears so nicely. Like, it just feels really good. And Herald of Plague is also really nice specifically for high velocity rounds, because you just kind of, you don't have to like even really target. Like it pierces, I think, up to like 6 enemies or something. So all you have to do is really just fire once into the pack, and then that big poison is just going to proliferate to the entire pack. So like, it's normally not a very good skill for clearing, right? But
itching for me to lose another
Herald
limb,
of Plague kind of just solves all of that. It is also very good for doing Expedition.
Ready?
Again, because it just prolifs and explodes everything.
This'll get him! Need more time!
And then the cool thing is, like, you can also do emergency reload, which is going to obviously reload your ammo, but it also gives you a nice damage buff as well. So empowered bolts do 30% more damage, and then you get another 15% more damage from premeditation, and culling strike for murderous intent. So because we kind of just care about doing like one really big hit, that's very good. Just because you get, like, what is it, 45% more damage or whatever. So it's pretty strong. And if we want to be cheesy on this boss, we can just drag all these mobs up here and then try to prolif. No, they all died. See if I can do this without dying. So yeah, see how the boss just keeps getting continually armor broken, like, pretty much immediately? Just from standing in the gas. Cool. Yeah, so that's what bossing looks like, really. You just, like, keep them in the gas, and then just keep shooting. So yeah, it works pretty well. That was a level 80 map. And let me go over, like, the gear and the tree and all that. It's honestly pretty straightforward. So tree-wise, currently I don't even have my 4th Ascendancy yet. I tried to get it yesterday and, like, got completely screwed over two doors from the final boss. But yeah, basically it's just Zealous Inquisition. We take this first. This is the first point you want because it's just so good. Like, even during the campaign, it's just going to help you clear so much faster. Then you got Source Reward, which does have that less armor and evasion downside, but, you know, I think the upside is worth it. This has some interesting synergies with, like, stuff like fizz damage taken as elemental. So this node here gives you 5% fizz taken as LE, which is really nice, just for some extra fizz mitigation. You can also use, like, the Cloak of Flame for even more, but of course then you're also sacrificing armor and evasion that you would get from your body piece. So it's kind of like, I think probably, honestly, Cloak of Flame would probably be a better option than what I'm using now, although my current chest is just like a hybrid armor evasion with a bunch of life and then spirit. I did want to get that extra spirit just because there's a lot of good spirit buffs to run for this build, but Yeah, so basically the tree, you know, we focus on getting like a lot of armor and evasion on the tree, like over here, stuff over here, and then like down here, and like a little bit of more evasion and stuff over here. Early on, you want to like take a bunch of projectile damage, and then like the two-handed damage stuff here, and then you want to path all the way over to the poison stuff. And like once you get the poison stuff on your tree, that's when you can start breaking armor really quickly with gas cloud or gas grenade. And that's kind of like where you would swap to it during leveling. But then yeah, the rest of the tree, like we have a little bit of grenade investment here just for the extra projectile. So I'm not using LMP or not LMP, scatter shot, because it does kind of lower your damage a lot, and it's pretty noticeable in terms of how quickly you break armor. And you don't really need that many grenades, or not that many gas grenades, because the coverage is pretty good. So we do just take this one from the tree. Also, I think the 100% increased grenade detonation time is bugged on this, so there's actually just no downside for taking this right now. Maybe that'll be fixed soon, but currently, I believe, like, if you look at, yeah, the detonation time is still 2 seconds, even though I have that on the tree, so instead of being 3 seconds, it's still 2 seconds. That probably works for other grenades as well. I haven't really tested. And then, yeah, the other important thing is you need to get your poison chance, right? So you can get a little bit on the tree from, like, these minor nodes here. Early on, you're going to want to use Envenom support on high velocity rounds, which is just going to give you 50% base poison chance. And then you take nodes like these, the increased chance to inflict ailments, and that's going to be a multiplier to your base poison chance. So, like, if you had 50% chance and then you get another 10%, now you're at 55% chance, right? So most of our poison chance is coming from jewels currently. So I have 1, 2, 3, 10% poison chance jewels. And then I have these gloves, Snake Bite, which give another 30% flat poison chance, as well as you can get 1 extra poison on your target. So that's 60% flat. And then, yeah, just like the extra ailment chance from here, we have projectiles have another 25% chance to inflict ailments here. That might be it, honestly. Can't remember if there's any other, like... Yeah, I think that's it. And that just gets you, between this and this, that gets you enough ailment chance to hit 102%. Yeah, so... tree, that's pretty much it. There's no weapon swapping currently. I'm not doing anything funky with weapon swaps. The other stuff I'll mention here is we have some investment into companion stuff. So the reason I am doing that is because I'm using Starconges, which is a new unique that gives you, normally it's 15% chance, or it's not chance, 15% of damage from hits is taken from your companion's life before you. So that can be combined with the, loyalty support, which it gives you an additional 10%. So with a perfect corruption and loyalty support, that's 28% of damage taken from your companion before you. And then if you have last gasp, even if your companion would die, it'll stay around for another 4 seconds, and it'll continue taking damage for you, basically. And then if you get these 2 nodes here for 50% faster revive, your companion will only ever be dead for like 1 second, and then it'll immediately revive. Because the revive timer is going to be ticking down while last gasp is active. So this is just really strong. I also have like some extra presence AoE because you need to, because these give AoE to the companion itself, and I'm using a haste aura companion, so this means I don't have to be as close to the companion to get the aura. But also the presence effect is good because you get increased damage while in the presence of your companion. And these nodes are very strong because of this notable right here, which makes increases and reductions to companion damage also apply to you. So each one of these small nodes becomes a 20% damage node. And that's also generic damage, which means it's very good at scaling things like Zealous Inquisition, which is just kind of like not an attack and not a spell. So anything that specifies attacks won't necessarily scale Zealous Inquisition. So, and it's not a projectile, so our projectile scaling isn't going to apply to that either. I don't think it counts as damage with a two-handed weapon either. So, like, a lot of the scaling on the tree is not going to apply to Zealous Inquisition. Which it doesn't really need that much scaling because 100% of the life of enemies, it's already big damage. But yeah, this is just like a little bit of extra damage scaling for Zealous Inquisition, which it's pretty strong. And then yeah, other than that, it's just like we got some accuracy and attack speed. Accuracy is not too big of an issue for this build. Just a lot of move speed wherever we can get it. Up here, over here, just because that makes the build feel good. And then yeah, the rest is just kind of like projectile damage and all that stuff. So I'm not sure where exactly I'll go next on the tree. I'm kind of just making it up as I go along. Oh, also we have Anointed Breakage over here for 60% increased armor break and extra chance to defend with 200% of armor. It's probably not the best option as far as anoints go, but it is fairly cheap. I mean, it doesn't require any of the like the really high level emotions or whatever they're called. But yeah, there's plenty of other good options for anoints. That one was like solid and cheap, so I went with that for now. As far as gear, this is my crossbow that I'm using. It's a self-found weapon. Just fizz damage. You just want as much fizz damage as possible, basically. Having the extra bolt is nice, but not really required because you really only need one big poison to like prolift through packs. But it does help for bossing and stuff when you can shoot a little bit faster. But if you noticed, like on the boss while he's standing in the gas cloud, basically there's gonna be like a 1 second or so pause after you break the armor before it starts breaking again. So it's not gonna be, you can't just like keep shooting, and continue to get the extra damage buff from high velocity rounds, unfortunately. So there is that little bit of a wait period there, and usually you're just reloading your ammo there anyways. So like you don't need the extra bolt, it just feels kind of nice to have. But yeah, other than that, you just want as big of a fizz hit as possible. And, crossbows can actually go much higher than this, so, yeah. The lightning damage doesn't really do a whole lot, just because, I mean, occasionally it'll shock stuff, so it's actually not a terrible thing to have on there, but it's not required either. Went over the head already, Sarkonjas. The other thing that's interesting is it gives a bunch of increased global evasion when on low life. And then this node over here gives a bunch of increased evasion and armor when on low life. So I was actually playing around with like some low life setups, trying to make that work and be like more reliable. I ended up not doing it just because I couldn't get it to be like super reliable. But like you can use what's the belt called? Coward's Legacy belt to increase your low life threshold so that it'll proc sooner basically. But yeah, I'm not using that currently. Amulet, I just have life, spirit, res, stats, rarity, and anointing breakage. And rings are just some crappy rings I found, which is, yeah, you kind of just want like flat fizz and res and, life if you can get it, rarity if you can get it is also nice. Same with belt, you just want a bunch of life, a bunch of res, strength or whatever. Boots, you want movement speed, you want res, you want life, same stuff. And then, yeah, the snakebite gloves are really good. There's another pair of gloves, I forget what they're called, but they make all types of damage poison, but they also have that 30% poison chance on there. So you could use those instead if you wanted to try to scale elemental damage a bit. That's an option. Haven't really tried it myself, but it probably works fine. And maybe even opens up some other opportunities for poison scaling from elemental damage. Like if you have a big elemental damage roll on your weapon, maybe it's good for that. But you do lose that +1 poison at a time. So like currently on my tree, I only have this one right here as the extra. So it's like I can have 4 poisons at a time with like the one base, this one from the tree, this one from the gloves, and then there's corrosion support, or not corrosion, comorbidity support gives another one. So 4 for gas grenade, and then 1 fewer for high velocity rounds. And like I think the largest poison should always be the one that applies. Like you can actually have more stacks of poison on the enemy, but only the largest 4 will actually deal damage. So usually that's going to be coming from high velocity rounds just because this number is gigantic. Whereas like gas poison does still quite respectable damage, honestly, at 568, but it's not as huge as 1326, right? So yeah. As far as other skills we're using, you can ignore this stuff up here. We don't ever actually use that. So sorcery reward, that's from our ascendancy. You can use the mastery supports to get extra levels on it, which just lowers the base recharge time, because it has lightning, cold, and fire support or tags. Yeah, so that's pretty straightforward. It actually recharges faster than this because from our ascendancy, from the second node, you get 50% increased effect and 50% faster recovery. So it's something like a 4-second recharge or around there. And then, yeah, high velocity rounds. So currently I'm using Lacerate on there just because it's a big hit, so you can do a big bleed. I'm not really scaling bleed specifically, but there's not really a ton of other good, like, just pure damage supports for high velocity rounds. So you could go for, like, what is it? It's called, like, double barrel support, which gives you an extra bolt loaded per round. That's an option. But again, that doesn't really affect, like, how big your poison damage is. And most of the poison supports I have, I'm using on gas grenade specifically. So, yeah, so I just threw in Lacerate there just because we do get that generic, like this increased chance to inflict ailments is going to also apply to bleed. So we do actually get a pretty good bleed, yeah, 85% bleed chance. And then there's also on the tree, I think this is what I might try doing next, is like, there's a couple clusters down here and up here that are just kind of generic ailment clusters. So that should scale both poison and bleed. So yeah, we'll probably end up trying to go for that stuff next. Just so you can get that double ailment action. And then close combat support, because typically you end up getting swarmed by mobs and they get in your face and then you do more damage to close mobs. But you can swap that out for long shot if you need to. For certain situations, long shot is going to be more reliable. And then heft for more maximum phys hit, and deliberation, which is a new one they added. You have less movement speed penalty, but more damage. But you don't really notice the movement speed penalty because you're not really holding down high velocity rounds and shooting often. Like, you're just, when you're clearing, you're shooting out grenades pretty frequently, and then high velocity rounds, you kind of just tap it once and then keep moving. So you don't really notice the downside so much. So deliberation is really good for this skill. And then, yeah, emergency reload, as I said, you get that premeditation for more damage, ingenuity for faster cooldown, and then culling strike for murderous intent. And then we have leap slam just for movement. So the interesting thing is these two new supports give you increased armor and increased evasion based on the attack time of the skill. So because leap slam has like added attack time, it's pretty slow. You get like while you're leaping, you get like a ton of increased armor and evasion, which is kind of cool. And then just cadence because more attack speed, good. And then as far as our reservations, we have Shard Scavenger, which is going to automatically reload our crossbow if we break armor, which we're doing all the time, obviously. So that's nice. Then we have our Companion, which obviously synergizes with the Starkanjas and all the companion stuff on the tree, but then it's giving us a haste aura, which is really strong. Gives you a lot of movement speed and a lot of attack speed. It also has Shroud Walker, which is going to blind enemies and make it teleport, as well as having proximal tangibility and all damage ignites. However, the all damage ignites on this one is actually kind of bad, because it's going to ignite the enemy, and then that's going to explode the gas, and then they're not going to be poisoned from the gas anymore, right? So I am using Immolate support just because it says supported skills cannot ignite. So ideally you would just get a different companion, but I just haven't bothered to find one yet. So, and then other than that, we have Last Gasp and Loyalty, as I talked about before. And then we have Wind Dancer for more evasion with Pin, Lockdown, and Blind. That's pretty straightforward. And then Scavenge Plating is really good as well because we are an armor evasion hybrid. And fully breaking an enemy's armor is going to give you stacks of Scavenge Plating, so this is pretty much full stacks all the time because we're just constantly breaking armor, and even on bosses we're repeatedly breaking armor. So yeah, you never really fall off in terms of the Scavenge Plating stacks, and that is just like a ton of. You can get 10 stacks, and it's like, yeah, currently it's 6% more armor per stack, so it's like 60% more armor. But you can go even higher than that, I think. Like, if with a couple more levels on here, I think you can get this number goes up. So, yeah, Scavenge Plating is very good. And then, of course, Herald of Plague, super important. Just spreads poisons everywhere and murders everything. So, yeah, that's the build. It's been super fun. If your build is lacking in dopamine hits, I highly recommend trying this build instead because the Zealous Inquisition explosions are just so satisfying. So, yeah, anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.